using shared memory. Okay. Message passing, already we have studied what is message passing. Okay. Okay. If P1 wants to communicate with the P2, what they will do? They will have one separate message queue. In that, P1 will post the message. Okay. Now P3 wants to communicate with the P5. What will happen? P3 will post the message in the message queue. P3 will post the message in the message queue. So first come, first serve. First P1 message will be taken into account, then P3 message will be taken into account. This is message passing. Okay. Coming to shared memory, I told you two processes will share a common memory. Okay. One small example we are going to see as producer consumer process. Okay. Producer consumer process. Okay. Assume we are having one stack which is shared by both producer and consumer. Okay, what do you mean by producer and what do you mean by consumer? To say it simply, for your easy understanding, producer means a person who produce job or produce process or create process. Okay, for example, user is creating a process. The user is considered as a producer. Consumer means what? Who is consuming that process or who is getting benefit from the process. That is end user. Okay, consumer means end user. Or here for your easy understanding, you can consider it as a CPU also. I am submitting the process to CPU. CPU is consuming the process what I am submitting. Okay, otherwise, a person who wants help, a person who provides help, that's all. Okay, a person who wants a service, a person who provides service. So service provider is producer, service consumer is consumer. Okay, user is consumer. Okay. Now, this producer and the consumer wants to communicate among themselves. Now what they will do? They will share a common memory. Here I am referring it as a stack. Okay, referring it as a stack, or you can have a queue also, no problem. Okay. Whenever, suppose producer is producing one job and place it in the queue, that is P1, and P1 is consumed by C consumer, or assume CPU is executing this process. When CPU is executing that process, producer is producing another job. Okay, so that may be placed as P2, and he is producing another job. Consider it as P3. So he is producing another job, P4. Like that, how long he can produce? How many jobs a producer can produce? Depends upon the size of the stack or size of the queue. Okay, for easy understanding, you can consider as a queue also. First come, first serve. Okay. So, as long as, or how long a producer can produce job depends upon the size of the queue. If the size of the queue is 10, he can produce maximum 10 jobs at any given time. Okay. See, already one job is consumed by or using by consumer or CPU. So total 9 jobs are in waiting. So one more job he can create. Okay. Once the queue is full, what will happen? Producer will go into sleep state. Okay. Producer will go into sleep state. Why producer is going to sleep state? Because he cannot produce any job because the queue is full. Why queue is full? CPU is still executing first process only. It is not yet completed. Okay. So after some time, consumer has completed P1 and it is consuming P2. Okay, now CPU is executing P2. Once the CPU is executing P2, one empty slot will be created. Now producer will wake up and he can produce. If any job is there to be produced, and he will produce the job. Producer will produce the job or create the job. I hope you are able to understand. Okay. So this is a common variable or shared memory producer and consumer is using. Okay. Suppose producer is not having any job to produce. Okay, producer has produced all, provide all the services. There is no more jobs to be created or to be produced. Okay. Now what the customer will do? He will take P3, he will take P4, he will take P5, P6, P7 up to P10. So now consumer has consumed all the 10 processes. Okay, now producer is not producing a job. Consumer is also not consuming a job. Now consumer also will go into sleep state. Okay, consumer also will go into sleep state. Why consumer is going to sleep state? Because there is no job to execute. Okay, so when the producer will go to sleep state, if the queue is full or if the stack is full, producer will go to sleep state. When consumer will go to sleep state, if the stack is empty or if the queue is empty, consumer will go to sleep state. Okay, as long as the queue or stack is neither full nor empty, then both will be in wake up state. Okay, stack is not full as well as stack is not empty. Means what? At least more than one job is available in the stack. At that time, both the consumer and the producer will be in wake up state, will be in execution. Okay, so why I am giving this example is they are sharing a common variable. Okay, common shared memory that is used by both the consumer and the producer. That is what we are referring as shared memory system.